Going to the gym can be discouraging, especially if you're putting in the work but barely seeing changes. But with Tonal, you can actually see your progress with every workout. Tonal provides the convenience of a full gym and the expertise of a personal trainer anytime at home with one sleek system. Designed to reduce your mental load, Tonal is the ultimate strength training system, helping you focus less on workout planning and more on getting results. No more second-guessing your technique. Tonal gives you real-time coaching cues to dial in your form and help you lift safely and effectively. After a quick assessment, Tonal sets the optimal weight for every move and adjusts in 1-pound increments as you get stronger, so you're always challenged. Tonal lets you choose from a variety of expert-led workouts, from strength to aero hit to yoga and mobility, to keep you coming back for more. For a limited time, go to Tonal.com to get $500 off your Tonal purchase, plus a free 4-year warranty. That's Tonal.com for $500 off, plus a free 4-year warranty. Tonal.com.
Welcome back to another Wisco Fanatics Wednesday. Tyler and Jake, we have 6 Milwaukee Brewers games to discuss today. The Brewers just wrapped up their second win in this series against the Reds, so we have 5 wins out of 6 games to talk about. And then we are also going to do part 4, the final part of our Milwaukee Bucks offseason coverage. We've already discussed why Giannis isn't getting traded, no matter who is calling to ask. We've already discussed the financial situation and where the Bucks stand with draft picks. And then last week we discussed what we would like to see from the coaching staff and from the roster construction. Today we are going to go through and name players that we would like to see added to the Milwaukee Bucks, whether it's through free agency or trade. But we're going to start with the Brewers right after we hit the intro.
Welcome to another episode of the Wisco Fanatics Show, where we cover the Packers, Bucks, Brewers, and Badgers basketball and football teams from an optimistic and realistic perspective.
Wisco Fanatics is brought to you by Cardboard Legacy, Wisconsin's most complete sports card shop. Buy, sell, grade, and consign all at their location in Oshkosh.
Okay, so 6 Milwaukee Brewers games, starting with a series sweep of the Phillies in Philadelphia. So let's start with Game 1. Jake, what stood out to you from Game 1 against the Phillies last week?
Well, starting with the Phillies, we get the first look at Hall Priester back-to-back. Got that twice this week, and gotta say, great success. Good job by Murphy and the rest of the coaching staff to see how this was going to work and map this together. But start with D.L. Hall, 3 innings pitched, 0 hits, 0 runs, 4 Ks. He looked fantastic. He had 2 ground ball outs, 3 fly ball outs, and that's going to be important when I talk about Quinn Priester here, because Quinn Priester went 6 innings, gave up 4 hits, 2 earned runs, and 0 Ks. He also had 0 walks, which I think is very important for Quinn Priester, a guy that sometimes struggles to find the strike zone, especially with that off-speed stuff. But he had 16 ground ball outs and 2 fly balls, two fly balls, which is less than what Hall had in double the innings of work. Still great job by both. Quinn Priester with the 16 ground balls, second most in a game this year by a starting pitcher. Only Logan Webb is higher with 17, which he did earlier this month. In terms of scoring, Yelly, the power is back, I guess, because another 2 home runs for Yelly. He's up to 12 after this game. 4 RBIs as well. He's up to 38. Contreras and Frelick also added in with some RBIs. Churio had a stolen base up to 10. Collins had 2 of them, so he's up to 7. Frelick 11 and Durbin 5. So good job by those guys getting on base. Got to backtrack. Forgot to say something that I thought was important for the starting pitchers. Hall faced 10 batters. 8 of his 10 batters, he had a first pitch strike. And Priester faced 22. 17 of his 22, he had a first pitch strike, so he's getting ahead of his batters. 25 out of 32 for those 2 combined, so you're at 78%. Putting yourself in an advantageous situation that we've talked about before, right? Especially starting pitchers. And especially these 2. We've talked about Hall having command issues. Obviously talked about Priester. I just talked about it before as well. So these are 2 guys that need to get ahead in counts so they can actually use their stuff, because they have good enough stuff to get strikeouts and get some outs. So wanted to go through some of the scoring. So the top of the first, the Brewers sent 6 batters to the plate. The first 2, Terang, he had a double, his 6th, and Churio had a single. Yelly, strikeout, and then Churio had a stolen base. Contreras picks up an RBI, number 25, and Frelick picks up an RBI, number 19, and Hoskins struck out. So they scored 2 right away. We talked about how it was important for them to score first and score early. In the fifth inning, I lied. Stranded 2 in the third. Yelly and Contreras. Durbin had a double with 2 outs, and he was stranded in the fourth. In the fifth inning, Terang had a walk. Churio had a double. 2 on, no out. Yelly, first pitch, didn't miss it. He went up there knowing that he had to get an out with no outs, and Yelly was at the plate. He goes up there, gets a 3-run jack. The sixth through eighth inning, they had 1 hit combined for the whole team. And in the ninth inning, Yelly, 2 pitches this time. Took him 2 pitches to hit his second homer. Leadoff homer on a hanging knuckle curve that he hit 420 feet. Don't fucking hang knuckle curves around Christian Yelich. Probably not a good situation to be in, but good night for the Brewers offense. Good night for the Brewers bullpen as well. Foreshadowing for something that my buddy's going to be talking about here in a sec, but why don't you go ahead and game 1 here.
So as you said with the early offense, you brought up and you mentioned Jackson Churio's stolen base. I wanted to just throw a little bit of context on that, and that it was important because it did directly lead to the Brewers' second run in that first inning by preventing a potential double play on the ground out that William Contreras had that scored Terang. So the Brewers very easily could have ended that inning with just 1 run scored, but Churio stealing that base does help the Brewers score that second run. Just the top of the order, those two, Bryce Terang and Jackson Churio. Terang was 1 for 3 with 2 walks, and Churio was 2 for 5. So having those guys getting on base a ton in front of Yelich and Contreras is only going to be good things for the Brewers.
Yes.
Now, that said, the Brewers made Taijuan Walker throw a ton of pitches. He threw 89 pitches to only get through 4+ innings, through 24 pitches in the first inning, and that's what they were doing last year, and that's what over the last 2 weeks when I've been talking about how the Brewers can improve at the plate is patience.
Mm-hmm.
Prime example, making a dude throw 89 pitches and getting him out in 4 innings. And then Christian Yelich, the first pitch from a relief pitcher by the Phillies, Yelich hits for a 3-run home run. And then you mentioned the top of the ninth, the leadoff home run that Yelly had there was 110 miles an hour off the bat. Would have been a home run in all 30 ballparks.
Yeah, he smoked it.
Yeah, that was good stuff. The Brewers, with that, moved to 10-0 when Christian Yelich hits a home run. You mentioned DL Hall. I wanted to bring up that this was the second appearance that he made in between what would have been Logan Henderson's 2 starts. So again, I'm not doing this to try to talk down to people, but when we say that Logan Henderson is being sent down for a reason and Matt Arnold knows what he's doing, DL Hall appeared 2 times as the corresponding move for Logan Henderson being sent down and DL Hall being activated. He pitched 5 1/3 innings, gave up 2 hits, 3 walks, 5 strikeouts, and 1 earned run in those 2 appearances. So, again, Logan Henderson is going to be back, but DL Hall did what the Brewers needed to do and helped Quinn Priester. Quinn, what I put in my notes, Quinn, quote-unquote, ground ball outs Priester. Pat Murphy's game plan exactly the way that everybody wanted to with the 6 innings pitched. Bullpen basically got back-to-back days off by having Thursday off, and then DL Hall and Quinn Priester being the only guys that needed to pitch on Friday.
Mm-hmm.
Priester, his stuff was sharp. His velocity and his spin was up a tick on all of his pitches. So just really, really great stuff by the Brewers to set the tone for this series. And then going into game 2, early offense again. Jackson Churio starts with a hard hit single. William Contreras works a walk. Christian Yelich opened the scoring. And Rhys Hoskins hurt his former team with a 3-run home run and got booed rounding the bases, which he said if you're getting booed in an opposing ballpark, it usually means you're doing things good. And then the top 3, all 3 of the top 3, which would be Contreras, Churio, and Yelich, were all on base their first 2 at-bats, which is good to see. Again, the top of the order guys getting on base. The Brewers tagged Jesus Luzardo for 4 earned runs before he recurred an out. That hadn't allowed more than 3 runs the entire season, and the Brewers tagged him for 4 runs before he got an out. Sal and Caleb Durbin manufactured a run with contact and speed, basically. Top of the 4th, Sal poked a double off the right fielder's glove in right center field, and then Caleb Durbin bunted, forced a bad throw that allowed Sal Frelick to score. That was followed by a balk and 2 walks, and then Jackson Churio, his 3rd straight hit. Everybody moved up 2 bases. The Brewers were up 7-0, and all of their runs that they had scored in the 1st inning and the 4th inning to that point had occurred before an out was made. So we talk about 2-out big hits. How about just stringing a bunch of hits together to start an inning?
Yeah.
Contreras single made an 8-0 lead for the Brewers. Simon said, fellas, the Brewers are on an absolute tear right now. Yes. Yes, they are. 9 out of 10. I'll take that all day.
I mean, 9 out of 10. How many games has it taken the Rockies to win 9 games this year?
60.
Yeah, that's not great.
And with 1 out, Rhys Hoskins hit his second 3-run homer of the game to make it 11-0. I literally wrote LOL in my notes at that point. Luzardo had 16 earned runs in his first 11 starts total. The Brewers almost doubled that in 3 1/3 innings pitched.
Jeepers.
So Simon said the Rockies aren't a real team.
Not this year, they aren't.
After that, another 3 walks made it the 12th earned run. So the Brewers just poured on earned runs on one of the better pitchers in starting baseball. Spoiler alert, we're going to say the same thing when we get to today's game. That said, Chad Patrick, 6-inning pitch, allowed just 2 earned runs to a good Phillies team. No, they're not immune to a dip in mental focus when they're getting boat raced, but still, for Chad Patrick to hold a Phillies team to 2 runs is good. The Brewers scored 4, 8, and 5 runs in single innings. 17 was the most runs in the month of May by 8. It was their 4th time scoring in double digits, and it tied their season high of 17 runs score. I did put in my notes, Tyler Alexander was not long for the big leagues. They kind of just put him in there to finish the day and take it on the chin because they kind of already had it in mind that they were going to send him down the next day. But 23 hits by the Brewers in game 2 of the Phillies series. So what stood out to you from that game?
Yeah. So you covered a lot of stuff, a lot of good stuff. So first of all, the Brewers, after this win, got the winning streak up to 6. So they're at a 6-game winning streak after this game. Yelly, Terang, Contreras, Ortiz, and Frelick all had single RBIs. Hoskins and Churio had more RBIs than the Phillies scored runs, and we gave up 5 runs to the Phillies in the 9th inning. Churio had 5. Contreras was 6. Obviously, Hoskins. Obviously, Hoskins had the 2 3-run jacks, and Churio had another 3-run jack by himself. So 3 3-run homers for one offense. You're putting a lot of people on base.
Yeah.
11 of 15 runners in scoring position is absolutely
that's just stupid.
Absurd. That is absurd. I stared at that. I was like, excuse me? And I watched the game and I still didn't believe it. It was insane. The Brewers had 7 players with at least 2+ hits. So 7 people with 2+ hits. So that was impressive to me. Wanted to give a shout out to Big Z. I think he's been tremendous. I know they put him in a situation last night that was basically impossible. I mean, if you're coming in from the bullpen, we're going to talk about it. But, yeah. I mean, he still did a good job last night as well. We'll talk about last night's game here shortly. But, overall, I thought the pitching was good. I agree. I think, Patrick, you still have to stay locked in that moment because you're still trying to eat some innings. Now, these first 2 games did some really good stuff for the bullpen, and I 100% agree with you that Alexander was just going to sit there and he was going to wear whatever happened.
Yeah.
Well, Taylor, that will start happening soon when they start actually playing some real baseball teams again. So, just saying, they play the Tigers coming up here, so that'll be a good opportunity for the Brewers to make some ground up. But in terms of this Phillies-Brewers game, just amazing offense, honestly. I was going to say the 4 games of 10+ runs, which you said, so. That's good for an offense that struggled to have 4 games with 10+ runs, and they've been scoring 5, 6 pretty regularly, and obviously the wins are starting to pile up here. But also want to give a shout out to the pitching because the pitching's been good all year, honestly.
Yeah.
The pitching's still been good with everything that's been happening.
Yep.
And, man, I'm going to talk about it real quick. I feel like we got to pour one out for Brandon Woodruff, dude.
Dude.
My God. I feel so bad for the guy.
Just leave him alone.
God, he was this close. He was this close coming back.
Yeah.
But
Taylor, the 1-2 punch of Hall and Priester has been awesome, and we're going to talk about it again when we get to today's game. But yeah.
Yeah. So we move on to Sunday's game as the Brewers take that win and finish the sweep of the Phillies. They win this one 5-2. Welcome back, Jose Quintana. That was obviously the move why Alexander was,
DFA'd.
DFA'd. Quintana, I got to say, he struggled with the command early, but, that's to be expected, honestly. But he did settle in. He pitched 5 innings, had 4 hits, 2 earned runs, the 4 walks, and 3 Ks. The 4 walks is not normal of Quintana. He'll be much better his next start out. Mears was fantastic. Koenig, Uribe, McGill. You combine those guys together. So this is the rested bullpen just on this day. 4 innings pitched, 2 hits, 0 earned runs, 0 walks, 2 Ks, 7 swings and misses from the 4 arms. Quintana had 7 swings and misses by himself as well through his first 5 innings. So great job by him. Get to talk about the RBIs here. So runners in scoring position. Not 11 for 15 again. Don't expect that to happen too often. But 3 for 12 is still pretty solid, honestly. And of those 3, Bryce Terang is 2 for 2 on this day. So he had 2 of the 3 hits. On the season, he has a 385 batting average of runners in scoring position, a 452 on base, 481 slug, and a 933 OPS. So runners in scoring position, Bryce Terang's been really good this year. Also want to give some context on Jake Bauers because he did have a big pinch hit in this game with 2 outs. With 2 outs, he's hitting 286, 412, 571, and 938. So he's 8 for 28, 2 homers, 6 RBIs, and 6 walks. So with 2 outs, he's been tremendous. The last 2 years, honestly, Jake Bauers, defense, clutch hitting. He comes in off the bench and he hits, dude. Good pinch, one of the best pinch hitters in baseball the last 2 years. He plays good defense, plays multiple positions. He's been really, really good. So Brewers' first sweep of the Phillies in Philadelphia since 2015. So that feels good to say.
Yeah, it feels good.
Go ahead, man.
So I'm going to throw this out there. Yelich was taken out after a hit by pitch on the hand. Thankfully, it was a bruise, not a fracture. We knew that he was back in the lineup on Monday. Mentioned Jose Quintana not finding the strike zone in the first and second inning. He threw 44 pitches, 21 were strikes, 23 were balls. He was able to finish 5 innings, thankfully. That said, he gave up 2 earned runs and then settled in after that, allowing just 2 base runners, which were both singles in the next 3 innings. So good job by him. Top of the 7th, Caleb Durbin had a leadoff double that had a 90% catch probability. I just want to bring this up. We've had a couple times this year where Churio's had a couple opportunities that had some high catch probabilities. Just want to throw that out there that it's not just a Brewers thing when it happens. Like, it happens to other teams. It benefits the Brewers sometimes. Jackson Churio stayed out of a double play, and then William Contreras, a routine grounder, got booted by Trey Turner, leads to a tie game. And then shout out to Pat Murphy for pushing the right buttons to send Jake Bauers to bat for Eric Haas to get a better matchup on a lefty versus a right-handed pitcher versus a righty-righty matchup. That double gave the Brewers a 4-2 lead. The Brewers just essentially took advantage of bad defense, and that's what you have to do. That's what the Brewers do. That's what the Brewers, their strategy is to get on base and cause chaos. And then I just wanted to give a shout-out to Joey Ortiz and Bryce Terang for manufacturing an insurance run. Just a good job at the bottom of the order. And then Bryce Terang, like you said, good call on Bryce Terang having 2 of the hits with runners in scoring position. I wanted to throw out a handful of things for the Brewers and Phillies series as a whole, getting the bullpen back on track, looking at the innings pitched and appearances by Jared Koenig, Nick Mears, Abner Uribe, and Trevor McGill in the last 3 series versus what they had to do in the Phillies series. So in the Baltimore, Pittsburgh, and Boston series, Jared Koenig made 6 appearances, pitched 6 innings. In the Philly series, he pitched 1 inning, 1 time. Nick Mears, in the last 3 series, pitched 5 games, 5 1/3 innings. In the Philly series, 1 inning, 1 appearance. Abner Uribe, the last 3 series, he pitched 6 appearances, 6 2/3 innings. Philly series, 1 inning, 1 appearance. Trevor McGill, the last 3 series, 5 appearances, 5 innings. Philly series, 1 appearance, 1 inning. So got the bullpen big time back on track. It's great to see that. And then looking at the starting pitchers versus their 2 previous outings, Quinn Priester, his previous outing, 6 innings pitched, and then the Brewers used Tyler Alexander, Grant Anderson, and Aaron Ashby. In the Phillies game, after DL Hall started the game, he pitched 6 innings, only needed 71 pitches to do it. So if he would have started that game, he potentially goes 7 innings.
Yeah.
Maybe 8 if he's still getting that many ground balls like he was.
Yeah.
So the DL Hall Quinn Priester pairing is a wonderful one, and I'm going to use it until it's broken.
Yep.
But just throwing it out there, that Quinn Priester pitched very, very well, and had he started this game, potentially could have gone deeper. But I understand the reason that they're doing DL Hall then Quinn Priester is to get through the order a couple of times, because the fourth time through the order is where Quinn Priester and Chad Patrick have gotten into some trouble. So that's why they're using the opener for that. Chad Patrick, his previous outing was 4 2/3 innings. DL Hall followed that outing with a 2 1/3 innings, and then Uribe and McGill were used. Versus the Phillies, Chad Patrick goes 6 innings, 94 pitches, only gives up 2 runs, and then Grant Anderson and Tyler Alexander were used. So a bullpen saved. And then the third game of the series, talk about Jose Quintana, pitched 5 innings, and then Mears, Koenig, Uribe, and McGill were all used, but thankfully they were well rested to this point, so that was their only appearance of the series. The last time, which would have been Logan Henderson's previous start, was 5 innings pitched, and then again, Mears, Koenig, Uribe, and McGill all had to be used. So the Brewers were able to get the bullpen back on track against the Phillies. Then, looking at the offensive side of the ball, getting to the Brewers getting to the Phillies bullpen early. On Friday, starter only threw 4 innings. Saturday, the starter threw 3 1/3 innings. And then Sunday, the starter threw 6 innings. So out of a 27-inning series, the Philly starters threw 13 1/3 innings.
Nicely done. Also bad for the Phillies.
Very bad for the Phillies. And then the 7, 8, 9 in the order, Saturday and Sunday. Saturday, they were 4 for 13. They had two walks, 2 RBI, 6 runs scored. Sunday, they were 5 for 10, 2 doubles, 2 walks, an RBI, 3 runs scored. Over the 2 days, 9 for 23. That's a 391 average, 4 walks, 3 RBI, and 9 runs scored coming from the bottom 3 of the order. That's brilliant stuff. So Brewers versus Phillies was a really great series. Awesome stuff for the Brewers to do that, especially on the road.
Yeah, I got one last thing with this Brewers-Phillies series. I like to go through my hits, walks, strikeouts, and runs scored. So the Brewers had 44 hits, which is insane over 3 games. I mean, the 23 helps, but they still had 12 in game 1 and in game 3.
21 hits over 2 games is still great.
Yeah, they were awesome. Yeah, just wait till you hear the Philly stuff. 9 walks and 25 strikeouts. So if you're looking at hits and walks compared to strikeouts, you're plus 28 right there. And they scored 28 runs. So makes sense.
Fucking sweet.
Look at the Phillies. The Phillies had 20 hits, 5 walks. So they're at 25. And they had 17 strikeouts. So they're plus 8. So they're still positive, but they scored 11 runs.
That's where the stacking traffic really comes into effect.
And the Brewers and the bullpen being able to, be able to work through traffic. So that's a good thing for them too.
And just in general, being able to keep it spread out and not let it stack up on you.
Mm-hmm.
That's good stuff. All right, let's go to Brewers Reds. Started with Monday night. It was good to see Christian Yelich in the lineup after getting hit in the hand on Sunday. The Reds, a leadoff double on a 3-1 count on another bad strike pitch. It should have been a 2-2 count. And then that runner scored on an Ellie De La Cruz single for the first run of the day, and the Brewers were playing from behind, and I was super salty. I will say it was not a good choice for William Contreras to throw while sitting down. That allowed 2 runners to get an extra base. Aaron Savali did a good job getting 2 outs with nobody else scoring. The Reds did have a good opportunity to go up 4-0 in that situation.
Very true.
So good job, good damage control by Aaron Savali to finish that inning with just the 2 runs that came in. Mm-hmm. Top of the second, the Brewers loaded the bases with 1 out. Jerry Ortiz drew a walk, and Bryce Terang had a sac fly that tied the game up. Top of the third, Christian Yelich extended his hitting streak to 9 by hitting his 13th home run, 417 feet, which seems low. I looked it up on Baseball Savant. It still says 417. It should have been like 437 because there's no way that ball was only going 417 feet. It was 111.1 miles an hour off the bat, and it hit the dead center wall, and it looked like it would have gone much farther than 417 feet.
No, I think it would have.
Sophia Minard said it to Yelich in the dugout after he hit it. He said, "I'll take the over." So that was awesome. The context behind that home run is really interesting because lefties were previously 0 for their last 17 versus Singer's slider until Christian Yelich hit that home run. And his next at bat was a 109-mile-an-hour exit velocity deep flyout that was probably 17 feet away from being a home run or less. Savali, I want to give him credit. He finished a really quick 1, 2, 3, third and fourth innings, which just takes the wind out of the sails. That's a momentum thing. Getting a double play in the fifth inning allowed him to finish the inning and start the sixth inning. So good job, Aaron Savali, there as well. And I want to give Jared Koenig some credit. 2 weeks ago, I was kind of worried about him. It seemed like every inning or appearance he was making, he was giving up a run. And it does appear that was due to the overuse of the bullpen. Same way I felt with Nick Mears, that some of their struggles were due to overuse. Jared Koenig, concern is gone. He's very much back as we would like to see him. The bow on the present for Jared Koenig being back was getting 3-0 to Ellie De La Cruz and coming all the way back to strike him out. That's when I was like, all right, I'm no longer worried about Jared Koenig. He's back. He's good. We're good. Abner Uribe has 2 elite pitches. Throwing a sinker at 101 miles an hour that dives in on right-handed batters is nasty. And then throwing an 89-mile-an-hour slider that moves what feels like 6 feet is also nasty.
And he throws it for strikes.
And locating that slider for strikes is going to make him damn near unhittable. He's easily the Brewers' closer of the future.
Oh, yeah.
That said, Trevor McGill, the closer of now, got the 7, 8, 9 hitters. Didn't have to sweat out the top of the order. Great to see. The Brewers moved to 11-0 in games where Christian Yelich homers. So what stood out to you from Monday night?
Yeah, so like you said, Savali did a nice job battling through 5 1/3. Rob Z comes in, cleans it up. And I fast forward to Koenig, and I wrote the at-bat of the game is Koenig versus De La Cruz, right? Getting down 3-0 to him. Ellie took a sinker. It's 3-1. He followed off a cutter. It's now 3-2. Koenig with a nice curveball for strike 3. And it's really impressive when you consider that he just walked Adam Lux. Gavin Why
Lux.
did I say Adam? I was looking at a bunch of names earlier. Gavin Lux. And at this point in this at-bat, when he's at 3-0, that's 6 straight balls that he's not finding the strike zone.
Okay.
And for him to take a deep breath and battle back against a guy like De La Cruz, and let's be honest, De La Cruz has superstar written all over him.
Yeah, even though he strikes out a lot, he's still one of the scariest guys to face.
Yeah, the swag. I mean, when he gets on first base, just consider him on second base.
I would consider him on third base.
Yeah, honestly.
Showed it today. If you get him on first base, he'll get to third without anybody having to put a ball in play.
I really like the analogy they made on the cast today when they said it's kind of like Giannis. He takes 2 steps and then he just starts sliding right away. It's like, yeah, pretty much. And he's got a quick first 2 steps, so he's been great. Uribe only needed 12 pitches to get through the 8th, 2 Ks and a pop out to second, and McGill only needed 13 pitches to get through the 9th. Strikeout to end the game. He's good for that theatrical stuff. So 25 pitches to get through the last 2 innings. Koenig, after getting through De La Cruz, made it pretty easy. The Brewers didn't score from the 4th inning on, so they only needed 3 today, I guess. And good thing that Yelly was back, because I was like, oh no, he's going to go on like the 10-day or something like that, and then he's going to be out of his funk. And I was a little worried, but thank God he was okay.
He's good to go. What's that up to you from last night's game?
So you get to last night's game, and the talk of this game is going to obviously, for me, going to be Peralta. Now, we could talk about how the Brewers got robbed at the end of the game.
I don't think so, actually. It didn't bother me like as much as it did on the surface, but we'll get to it.
It was. All I'm going to say is that was a really nice play. We've done it plenty of times over the last couple of seasons. So it happens to us. The Reds don't beat us very often. Honestly, not that mad, to be honest with you.
Like I said, I'll get into the context of why it didn't bother me that much.
Yeah, but talking about Peralta, Freddie Peralta through the first 4 innings, right? So first inning, 15 pitches, 2 Ks. Second inning, 11 pitches, 3 Ks. Third inning, gave up his first hit, 16 pitches, and a strikeout. In the 4th inning, 15 pitches, 2 Ks. He did give up a home run and 2 doubles that allowed the Reds to tie the game, but he was mowing. 57 pitches, 8 Ks, only 2 earned runs through 4 innings. I'm thinking like,
Dude, just the first 2 innings alone were ridiculous. He had 17 swings in the first 2 innings. 14 of them were swing and misses.
Yeah, he was.
Dude, that's ridiculous.
Right, that's Freddie when he's at his best, right?
Yeah.
And then you get to the 5th inning, 25 pitches. This is when the wheels started to fall off a little bit.
Yeah, he got a lot of traffic in the 4th and the 5th.
You get to the 6th inning, 10 pitches. He gave up a hit. He got very lucky that he got a double play, or it might have been even worse with the command that he had. I'm just calling it like I see it. He did come out for the 7th inning. He did record 1 out. He gave up a double and a walk, though, and had 11 pitches. So you're talking the first 4 innings, he only needed 57 pitches, and he had 8 strikeouts. So you need at least 3 pitches for every strikeout. Then the 5th, 6th, and the top of the 7th inning, 46 pitches. That's when the wheels started to fall off. I think he was overthrowing again. I was talking to you last night. I was like, is he going to come up for the 7th? If he could have got through the 7th, I mean, it would have been something. But this is a situation where you're talking about Rob Z comes in and he's kind of put in an impossible situation. I mean, you got 2nd and 3rd with no out.
Yeah, that's tough.
It's like, I don't care who you are as a reliever, you're going to be feeling pressure for one, and you're going to feel like you have to be perfect on every single pitch. You're going to give up a run in that situation.
I give him credit for only giving up 1 run in that situation.
Exactly. So I think he did his job.
Yep, I agree.
Anderson gave up another run, which was a homer. Benson was probably so happy to not see Peralta because Peralta was, I'm just going to say it, he was making him his little bitch.
He was having swords and like chops. Like he wasn't touching Peralta.
I'm pretty sure Benson, if I go look, I'm pretty sure he only saw 9 pitches and he had 3 strikeouts versus Peralta.
That sounds accurate.
He was terrible versus Peralta. Peralta was owning him. But I digress. The winning streak is over with. Oh, no, what are we going to do? They weren't going to win all 102 games that were left in the season. It's fine.
Yeah. So you mentioned Freddie Peralta. He was really good. His quick 6th inning is what gave him a chance at the 7th. It really just shows that the Brewers are willing to give him a leash, and Freddie, they're giving him ace-type treatment.
Mm-hmm.
So he's still probably more of like a really high-end number 2, but he's been the Brewers' ace for 2 years, and he's pitching like it at least. Now, I want to give credit to the Brewers. They did get some more early offense. Bryce Durang had a double. Christian Yelich had a 1-out single, extended his hitting streak to 10. That's the longest hitting streak that he's had since 2022, so that's great stuff.
Hell yeah.
The Brewers in the top of the 4th inning, Sal Frelick shows why his batting approach is so tough. He got down 0-2 really quickly, fouled off multiple pitches until yanking a ball just over the right field wall with 2 outs. So that was followed by a Rhys Hoskins single. Isaac Collins and Caleb Durbin drew walks, and Joey Ortiz did strike out. Brewers didn't get any extra runs, but did have to force a ton of extra pitches.
Yeah.
So still a good approach by the Brewers as a team there. Now, the Brewers were inches away from tying this game in the 9th inning. TJ Friedl robbed Jake Bauers of a 2-run home run, which is absolutely a bummer of a way to end the game and end the winning streak.
Mm-hmm.
But the reason this didn't bother me so much, Jake, like you pointed out 100% correctly, the Brewers have robbed a shit ton of home runs over the last 6-7 years with Lorenzo Cain, Keon Broxton, and Blake Perkins. Just those 3 guys alone have probably robbed 10 to 12 home runs that would have, put games in much different situations.
Yes.
Reason number 2 is an error by Ellie De La Cruz is the only reason that Jake Bauers was at the plate anyways. So the way I see it, really bad defense allowed a guy to get on base to put Jake Bauers at the plate anyways, and then you have a really great defensive play made by Friedl. Balances out. All right, let's get the game tomorrow, and let's win the series.
That's fair. That's completely fair.
The bigger part of this was that the Brewers, again, we've talked about traffic. Brewers needed more traffic. They scored the first 2 runs of the game, and the Reds scored 4 runs unanswered. The Brewers had 0 men on base in the 6th, 7th, and 8th innings, and the Reds only needed 30 pitches to get through those 3 innings completely.
Oh.
Brewers have had innings where they've made guys throw 30 pitches in an inning.
Yeah.
And the Reds were able to get through the 6th, 7th, and 8th by only throwing 30 total. So then we get to today's game, and the first 2 innings go super fast. Like it was noon, and the first 2 innings were already over.
Yeah.
It was like 20 minutes, and 2 innings were done. Then you get to the top of the third and 2 outs. Bryce Durang doubles. Andre Monasterio singles him in for a 1-0 lead. I want to give Pat Murphy some credit because the lineup card comes out. People see Turang batting ninth and Monasterio batting leadoff. It's clear that the Brewers are going against a lefty to start, and that's why. Last year, the year before, Turang's not even in the lineup against lefties.
Yep.
This year, he's in the lineup just at the bottom.
Yep.
And I just want to throw that out there because if Andre Monasterio leads off with a single and then Turang doubles, not a guarantee that the Brewers are up 1-0.
Good point.
So after that, Jackson Chourio got a 2-out single. He had a really great day. Now, let's start with the DL Hall and Quinn Priester combo here. DL Hall in the bottom of the third inning pulls a Houdini act. He dealt with the bases loaded with nobody out and got out of it without allowing a run. That is a great job. He finished with 1 hit, 2 walks, and 3 strikeouts. And then Quinn Priester follows up after him again. And Nick Mears.
Going to the gym can be discouraging, especially if you're putting in the work but barely seeing changes. But with Tonal, you can actually see your progress with every workout. Tonal provides the convenience of a full gym and the expertise of a personal trainer anytime at home with one sleek system. Designed to reduce your mental load, Tonal is the ultimate strength training system, helping you focus less on workout planning and more on getting results. No more second-guessing your technique. Tonal gives you real-time coaching cues to dial in your form and help you lift safely and effectively. After a quick assessment, Tonal sets the optimal weight for every move and adjusts in 1-pound increments as you get stronger, so you're always challenged. Tonal lets you choose from a variety of expert-led workouts, from strength to arrow hit to yoga and mobility to keep you coming back for more. For a limited time, go to Tonal.com to get $500 off your Tonal purchase, plus a free 4-year warranty. That's Tonal.com for $500 off, plus a free 4-year warranty. Tonal.com.
Got an inning of work just because, and he threw 5 pitches for 3 outs. LOL. Literally what I wrote in my notes.
Dude, I said LOL to you, bro. I was like, what? 5 pitches?
Bottom of the 6th inning, Quinn Priester was dotting corners, and Joey Ortiz had a web gem to keep Ellie De La Cruz from scoring. Like I said, a walk and 2 stolen bases, and then he's 90 feet away from scoring. And Joey Ortiz kept that from happening. So good job by that, and good job by Quinn Priester to get those outs. The Brewers posted today that his last 32 1/3 innings, covering his last 6 games, Quinn Priester has a 2.51 ERA.
Jesus Christ.
So you were worried about him 4 weeks ago? We're not worried anymore.
Honestly, keep putting Hall in front of him. This guy fucking Cy Young the last couple of weeks.
That's like, it made me think of when you said that the Bucks were just going to run the pick and roll with Damon Giannis like it's broken and run it till it doesn't work.
Yeah.
Same thing. DL Hall and Quinn Priester, run it till it doesn't work.
Yep.
We've gotten 8 innings and 9 innings out of the 2 times that you've done it. It ain't broke, don't fix it. Simon asked if 251 is good. Did he break it? Yeah. 251's good. For reference, Corbin Burns, when he won his Cy Young in 2021, it was a 2.43 ERA. So that's Cy Young level ERA over his last 6 games for Quinn Priester.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Offensively, top of the 5th, Jackson Chourio had a home run that gave the Brewers their lead to 3-0. Hit it into the wind. Into the wind to right field. Marks only the 2nd time all year that Andrew Abbott has allowed more than 1 run in an appearance. The Brewers tagged him for 5 runs. That's his season high. Also 7 hits by the Brewers is now Abbott's season high. Daz Cameron in the top of the 6th inning had his first home run as a Brewer.
Yes.
And the Brewers got a run back +1 from the inning before when the Reds got a run. Top of the 8th, the Brewers had a ton of traffic. Only added 1 insurance run. Wade Miley got some ground balls to get 2 outs at home plate, and then a diving play by the left fielder to end the inning. It is what it is. It's a good job, just like we keep saying, stacking traffic. Top of the 9th, the Brewers did stack more traffic. A Christian Yelich and Jackson Chourio singles, and then Isaac Collins cashed it in with a 3-run home run, and Yelich extended his hitting streak. Now, before I let Jake go, I just want to throw this out there. Dom Cotroneo tweeted the last 10 batters to have multiple 10 or more home run seasons before they turned 22, which Jackson Chourio became today by hitting his 10th home run. The last 10 guys to do it: Juan Soto, Fernando Tatis Jr., Ronald Acuna Jr., Rafael Devers, Carlos Correa, Bryce Harper, Manny Machado, Mike Trout, Jason Hayward, and Giancarlo Stanton.
Those are all good baseball players.
Jackson Chourio is now on that list.
They've all, at the very least, they've all had good long careers.
Honestly, you're looking at multiple MVPs.
All-stars.
You're looking at really good players. You're looking at guys that have won championships. That's a really, really great list of guys to be included on. Simon, if you haven't heard of any of those guys, I would just suggest learning ball. Yeah, a lot of good players on that list. And yes. I bring it up just for the fact of, we talk about it often, that we don't always acknowledge that we're witnessing greatness as it's happening. And I understand that Jackson Chourio is 21 years old. But to be included with names like this, like other phenom-type players, when Bryce Harper... sarcasm, that's what that is. Okay.
Sorry, I'm not 12. I don't understand the...
Okay, yeah, I didn't know the coding language that the /s equals sarcasm. So thanks, I learned something new today. Being included among these other players that who, when they were coming up at Jackson Chourio's age, were considered phenoms. Yeah, Taylor said get good. These guys were considered phenoms. You know, Bryce Harper, when he was coming up, people were like, oh my God, this guy's got so much potential. It's Jackson Chourio is in that same boat. So I'm not saying that, you know, Jackson Chourio is the next Bryce Harper or that he's the next Mike Trout. I'm just saying he is doing things at his age that those guys were doing at their age.
Yeah.
So I just want to make sure that it's being acknowledged because he's doing great things. So today's game, what stood out to you? And then I got some series notes as a whole.
Yeah. So DL Hall, like you said, he pitched his 3 innings. He was struggling with command early, but who gives a shit? He was getting outs. Honestly, I don't understand why people were just free swinging on 2-1s and 3-1s, and when he was missing with some pitches. But I'm like, thank you. I just kept looking at my phone because I was listening to my phone and my AirPod in while I was fixing some stuff at work, and I was just like, thank you, thank you for your weak contact flying out to shortstop.
Yourself out.
Thank you for hitting it right to Sal Frelick, so he has to take 2 steps to his left. Thank you very much. But Quinn Priester also, he was very efficient in my opinion. Very, very good. He did have the 3 walks in this one, which sometimes I've said in the past he does get in trouble with walks, but he had 0.
Opportunity for sure.
Yeah, that's the one spot I think where he could probably look to improve a little bit. 2 hits and 1 earned run over 5 innings is tremendous.
Taylor, we're excited for Jesus Mate, Luis Lara, Cooper Pratt. There's tons of guys to be excited about. We still have more stuff to publish from our interview with Javik the other day.
Yeah, I feel like the last 5 years we keep saying wait a few years and see what our team looks like. Wait a few years and see what our team looks like. Like we've been saying that forever.
We're getting there now.
Oh, we are. Like you said, Nick Mears 5 pitches. The first 2 guys got out in 2 pitches. I'm like, okay then, I guess. You guys are ready to go home. In terms of RBIs, just want to put a little extra context on the Monasterio and Terang situation. That was with 2 outs. And that was the first run of the game. So that was beautiful. Chourio also added 2 out RBIs. In terms of series, hits, walks, strikeouts, and runs, I like to compare the hits and walks to the strikeouts if you're new to the show. Hits and walks for the series, the Brewers had 23 hits and 8 walks. That adds up to 31 if you're not good at math. And they had 23 strikeouts. So they're +8 in that category, and they scored 14 runs. In terms of the Reds had 20 hits and 12 walks. So that adds up to 32, and they had 28 strikeouts, so they're only +4. They scored 7 runs in the series, and they wasted 4 of them in the second game. They scored 1 run today. So yesterday's game, last night's game, I was like, they'll probably win 4-1 or 4-0. I'm feeling like a 4-0, 4-1 game. I mean, 4-2 loss, not too upset. Coming into today, I was like, probably gonna have to win a one-run game because
it would be 5-3.
Dude, you literally said today, you texted me, you were like, oh my God, a freaking Wednesday game that didn't go into extra innings. So I was thinking it today. I was like,
both of the last 2 Wednesdays both went into extra innings. I'm like,
Wednesday, if they win,
I'm trying to get my notes done for the show, and it's like, oh, here we go. Now we're gonna play another inning.
Yep, every time. But did a nice job stacking traffic. 3 home runs again for the crew, so that seems to be a big number for them. I'll have to – actually, that's a good idea. I'm going to look up their record when they hit at least 3 home runs.
Love that. Looking at the series as a whole, I went through and I added up the two appearances that DL Hall and Quinn Priester made together. The combo has worked magnificently twice. In the two appearances that they have together, they've pitched 17 innings. They've given up 3 earned runs. They've allowed 6 walks, 7 hits. So the walks is an opportunity to get those down. But they also have 11 strikeouts and a shit ton of ground ball outs. The Brewers, I mentioned, shared the Quinn Priester over his last 6 games, covering 32 and a third innings, has a 2.51 ERA. And just the Brewers starters / bulk guys, I'm going to include Quinn Priester among this just to really illustrate how much better the starters have been over the Reds series compared to what they did in the Red Sox series when the bullpen was taxed at their most. So the Reds series, the Brewers starters / bulk guys pitched 16 and a third innings out of 27 innings pitched. If you add DL Hall, that's 19 and a third innings pitched. That's 60.5% of the innings. If you include DL Hall, that bumps up to 71.6% of the innings were pitched by the starters and DL Hall.
Okay.
Look at the Red Sox series. You look at they had to play 29 innings in that series because they went into extra innings on Tuesday and Wednesday last week. The starters pitched 14 and 2/3 innings out of 29. If you add DL Hall and Aaron Ashby, who both pitched multiple innings, that gets you to 19 out of the 29. That's by the starters, 50.6% of the innings.
Okay.
And if you add in the bulk guys of both DL Hall and Aaron Ashby, that's 65.5%. If you add just DL Hall, it's 58.6%. So essentially, from the Red Sox to the Reds series, the starters pitched an extra 10% of the innings. And if you add DL Hall, it's an extra 13% of the innings that they pitched over what they did in the Red Sox series.
Damn.
So a 10% and 13% increase of the starters plus DL Hall from the Red Sox to the Reds series. That is much, much, much better work by the starting / bulk pitchers.
I agree. Set the Brewers up nicely for the rest of this month. They have tomorrow off, and then they go on another long run of games where they play consecutive. Yeah.
Thankfully, a 10-game homestand.
What was it? Was it 13 games in a row? I don't remember what it was, but
sounds like something like that.
Well, I
think it is 13. They play 10 at home, and then they play 3 on the road.
Yep, I think it's 13 because I was trying to talk to you about the Cardinals and Cubs as well because the Cardinals are starting today, or no, is it tomorrow? They started like 16 games in 16 days. That was yesterday. They would have started it, and then the Cubs they played like 15 straight, and they play all their games are a bunch of over 500 teams finally again because they had the soft part of their schedule. So. If the Brewers can get through these next couple weeks here, they do have a series with the Cubs and Cardinals coming up in the middle of the month, and then they end the month with the Pirates and the Rockies. July could be a lot of fun.
Yeah, some opportunity there.
You're going to win 2 versus the Rockies at least.
So I just wanted to throw a couple things out there. The last 2 weeks, so since Christian Yelich started hitting the 2-run home run game against the Pirates, the last 2 weeks he's batting .429. He's driven in 15 runs, 6 of them coming off of home runs. He's scored 12 runs himself. His OPS is over 1,300.
Oh, boy.
And his weighted runs created plus was 282 going into today.
Hell yeah, dude.
Just for context, 100 is average.
Yep. You go.
2 weeks ago, we said that he was close. We knew that he was hitting the ball hard. He just needed to square it up better. And also in those last 2 weeks, his strikeout percentage is down 7%. So he's doing way, 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 way better at the plate over the last 2 weeks. A guy like Christian Yelich is too good to be not good for long.
I don't expect
never believing that Christian Yelich batting 194 was who we were going to get for the rest of his career.
Yeah, or people were talking about trading him, but whatever.
People have been talking about trading him for 2 years.
I know, it's stupid.
So
I think he's rounding into the guy that we had first half last year. Now, I don't expect the power to stay there. Would gladly invite the power to stay there. You can stick around for a while.
I mean, right now he's got 13? So he's on pace for like 30.
I'll live with that. Thank you. You can give me 30 home runs and you can hit fucking 325 the rest of the year, and I'll be a happy camper.
And he's got to be over 30 RBI now, so he's on pace for probably like a 30 homer, 100 RBI season.
I can double check.
Yep, I'll take that.
Notebook. Versus the Reds, he's at 41 now.
He's at 41 RBI already?
Yep, he's at 41.
Damn, he might hit 30 home runs and have 120 RBI.
Yeah, after last night, he's at 41.
Damn.
Yeah.
All right. Well, love that. The Brewers, they start a series on Friday with the Padres. They play Friday through Sunday against the Padres, and then Monday through Wednesday against the Braves. So next week we will have 6 more Brewer games. Is there anything else you want to say on the Brewers before we start our Bucks segment for the day?
Saturday, national television again. This one's on Fox, so that'll be a lot of fun again. Hopefully another 17 runs. This time we'll do it at Miller Park. And let's just win 2 out of 3, boys. 2 out of 3, 2 out of 3. 2 out of 3 versus Padres, 2 out of 3 versus Braves. Hopefully the Cubs lose 2 out of 3 to the Tigers this weekend, and we can make some headway.
Yeah, the Tigers have been actually pretty solid this season.
Dude, they're tremendous this year.
Okay, so now we're going to switch to the Bucks, and today is part 4 of our Bucks coverage that we've been discussing. Today we are naming names.
Yes.
Last week we named skill sets and we named kind of coaching strategy stuff. This week's going to kind of tie into that. So we'll put it all together, but you can review last week's episode after this one to get our thoughts on what we were looking for from the coaching staff as far as strategy is concerned, and then how we would like to see the roster constructed. So we're going to go through. I have 4 potential scenarios, and then I also have other couple guys that, if they're available, that I'd be interested in the Bucks potentially making some deals for. Okay. So let's start. I'll give my first scenario. I'm just going to say priority number 1 is to re-sign Gary Trent Jr.
Yes.
Priority number 2 on my first scenario is sign Kevin Porter Jr. back if he doesn't opt into his player option.
Mm-hmm.
Then this is my biggest dream of the offseason. It's going to be very hard to pry him away from his current team given where they are right now. But my next priority would be to sign Miles Turner, please.
Okay.
They've been interested in him previously. I've wanted him on the Bucks for 2.5 years. Go get him. Get younger and more athletic at the center position while keeping the 3-and-D ability.
Mm-hmm.
Then, this is going to sound weird, but to make another deal with the Washington Wizards to trade Bobby Portis, Pat Connaughton, and a 2026 second-round pick from Utah for Marcus Smart.
Interesting. Okay.
And in this scenario, you could also sign Bruce Brown and essentially have 2 Marcus Smarts. And I'm just going to throw this out there. I'm on board with bringing back Thanasis. He's a guy you can use as a pest. He's obviously got a rapport with a bunch of the guys on the team. But my first scenario would be to keep Kevin Porter Jr., Gary Trent Jr., bring in Miles Turner, and then trade Bobby Portis, Pat Connaughton for Marcus Smart, and then sign Bruce Brown.
Yes. Love all that. All right. So I have been working on this section of the notes since we did that we were going to talk about the Bucks, because this is my favorite part. This is the best part. I had to change some stuff around. This is my 3rd piece of paper that I have now used for this. So I just wanted to mark that down. The other 2 I just threw in the garbage before the show. So I have a couple trades that I'm going to do, and also some free agent signings. So first at point guard, I do think that Kevin Porter Jr. is going to opt in on his player option, and he's going to try to get paid after next year. Yep. I have us re-signing Ryan Rollins on the cheap, and I have us bringing in Bruce Brown on the biannual exception. You will understand in a second. You can only use that if you're going into the second apron and you've used all your mid-level exception.
Which the Bucks have 1, by the way. They have 1 that they can use, the taxpayer mid-level exception. That's for $14.4 million. So
yep. So at shooting guard, I have AJ Green and then re-signing Gary Trent Jr. So there's your guards right there.
Yep.
Bruce Brown that can kind of play both. Ryan Rollins was nice last year. Kevin Porter Jr. was nice last year. AJ Green just got to get a little bit better at attacking off the dribble. And obviously, we saw what Gary Trent Jr. did when we needed him to do it. He was showing up, and he's going to be a starter next year, and that's where you fucking leave him, okay? Small forward. Now, this is where I have to start talking about some trades. My first trade that I have, so I'm just going to tell you all my trades so you can understand what I'm doing. Andre Jackson Jr. for Trace Jackson Davis. Makes sense for both ends. Andre Jackson, he's not getting much playing time for us. He can go over there. He can learn from a guy like Jimmy Butler and Draymond Green on how to get a little bit better offensively, how to get open off ball, set some good screens. He could literally just be a lunch pail bucket guy for them. Trace Jackson Davis wasn't getting a lot of play for them towards the end of the year. So
the Warriors discovered that Quentin Post is good.
yes. Trace Jackson Davis gives the Bucks length, athleticism, and they get younger. They like being big. If you don't know that, the Bucks like length.
Yeah,
they've been doing it for a long time.
I like that. That's a good one.
So my second trade. Now, people are probably not going to agree with this, and I understand that there's some stipulations you have to go through, especially with people opting in on player options. I have Bobby Portis coming back on his player option, trading him to the Hawks for Okongwu.
Okay.
The money matches up. Okongwu is a defensive first player. One of my things I wanted to change on for the Bucks is applying more ball pressure. He's a guy that can jump some passing lanes and apply more ball pressure. They have a log jam at the forward position for the Atlanta Hawks. The Hawks are literally – people make jokes about people just throwing darts at a dartboard. I fucking really feel like that's what the Hawks are doing, dude. Their roster construction is dumb as shit.
It was since they brought in DeJounte Murray. It has been since they lost to the conference final to the Bucks. Their roster construction has been just weird.
It's so bad. I was looking at the roster and I'm like, what are you doing? What are you doing right now?
Well, they did fire their GM.
For Bobby makes sense for both sides. They need somebody that can score down low, also shoot the three-pointer. Okongwu, the Bucks need a defender. They need a wing defender. I think it makes a lot of sense. So I have Okongwu at small forward / power forward. Now here's the other trade I have with the Hornets. I have Kuzma, Pat Connaughton, Tyler Smith, and the 31 first going to the Hornets for Mark Williams and Miles Bridges.
I knew you were going to include Miles Bridges. I knew you're a Miles Bridges guy.
Dude, the Hornets, again, another team. Now, I know they've been trying to do a rebuild. They just need to blow it up. Because, again, their roster construction, they tried to go with a game plan. And sometimes it just happens.
Yeah.
They were trying to go for a different kind of style. You still have Brandon Miller, who's young enough. You gotta ship out LaMelo.
I love Brandon Miller. I think he's got a lot of potential. It's just unfortunate that he's been injured.
I agree. And same thing with LaMelo. But you got to try to trade LaMelo and get whatever you can. If you get the 31 first from the Bucks, you get Pat Connaughton. He's an expiring contract if you want. You got Tyler Smith, who's a guy you can work on, and Kuzma's still not super old. He can provide some buckets for a team that's not going to win a lot of games. For the Bucks, Mark Williams, you get an athletic big guy who can block some shots. And then you get Miles Bridges, a guy who can attack off the dribble. The Bucks are going to need more of that, especially with Dame being out. They need another guy next to Giannis. So Miles Bridges and Okongwu are my small forwards going into next year. I feel very good about that. The money lines up perfectly as well. At power forward, that's where I have Trace Jackson Davis and Giannis.
Now,
I could have literally just put Giannis under every single position if I really wanted to.
In my first scenario, I literally put Giannis as my starting point guard.
And that's exactly what it's going to be, right? So then at center, obviously I had to trade for Mark Williams. Now this is where my mid-level exception comes into a factor here. I have Clint Capella signing for a mid-level exception. I could definitely see that happening. I'm thinking somewhere around the 8 mark. And you have bird rights on Jericho Sims, so you can just bring Jericho Sims back. So I have 3 centers there, all guys who are just a little bit more athletic than what we've had. They can block shots. They can run the floor. You have Giannis. You have Trace Jackson Davis, another big who's athletic and younger. So you get a lot younger with this. Miles Bridges is kind of in the middle of his prime. Okongwu's in the middle of his prime. And I think this is a great retool. The rest of the roster, I put Thanasis. He's on the roster. Whether you fucking like it or not, he's on the goddamn roster, and I actually like it. I think they could use a guy like Thanasis. I have Matisse Thybulle because I think that he's going to be cheap, and he's another defender, a guy that can run out and hit some corner threes. He's not the greatest shooter in the world, obviously.
He's like a 34% career three-point shooter.
But he has to be able to do something on offense, and he's a good defender. And then I have rookie pick number 47. That's the rest of the roster that I have. So
that's fair. I want to throw this out there again because I know we've discussed it, but I want to really hammer it because I know people are going to freak out when free agency starts. Jericho Sims is going to be the last player that the Bucks re-sign
because they can go over cap.
And it's not a representation of where they view him fitting in with the roster. It is strictly because, like Jake keeps saying, they have bird rights. They can go over the cap to sign him. He's going to be the last move they make because he can be added after no matter what else they do. If they sign him first, it takes away a smidge of flexibility, even if they like sign him for the veteran minimum.
Yep.
So he's going to be the last move that they make because they can go over the cap to keep him.
Yep.
So I just wanted to reiterate that. I will throw out what my potential deal for Mark Williams was, strictly because he's cheap and he has potential. And I do think him failing his physical last winter does bring his trade value down a little bit. So I understand that there's going to be people being like, the Hornets wouldn't do that for him. I threw Pat, Ajax, and a second-round pick for Mark Williams.
Okay.
Now, obviously, they can use Ajax and they can use more picks, but I think Pat Connaughton is an underrated part of this for them because they can use a shooting guard. They are not deep at shooting guard.
No.
So they can actually use Pat Connaughton if they want to, or they can just cut him and have cap space.
Yep.
Pat Connaughton at $9 million, freeing that up would give them more space than Mark Williams, who's making $6 million. And then they can also keep Ajax and a second-round pick.
Yeah, like I said with these bad teams, you got to give them a guy with potential that they can work on while they're going through their rebuild.
Yep.
And obviously their head coach is a guy that used to work on young players, or for the Bucks, Charles. So I think it'd be a good fit, dude. If they, dude, I'm telling you, I like my paper. If they do these 3 trades and sign those few people, Bucks are winning 55 games next year.
Yeah, I like that. So my second scenario still involves keeping Kevin Porter Jr. and Gary Trent Jr.
Okay.
Then, following that, the Bucks signed Santi Aldama from the Memphis Grizzlies.
Okay.
He averaged 12.5 points, 6.4 rebounds, 2.9 assists while shooting 36.8% from 3.
Okay.
Then you signed Larry Nance Jr., a guy that I wanted last year. He is a subtly good three-point shooter. He shot 44.7% on threes last year, and he is a very versatile defender.
And playoff experience.
Experience. I'm a big fan of Larry Nance Jr. I really, really want him on the Bucks. Then, to back up Jericho Sims, in this scenario, I have Jericho Sims starting at the center position.
Okay.
Sign Steven Adams to be your backup center. Basically just to get rebounds and play defense. And then my final part of this scenario involves trading Kyle Kuzma for DeMar DeRozan. It's one of those kind of rumored things that's been out there that the Kings are shopping DeRozan. I think Kuzma allows the Kings to get a little bit younger, kick the can down the road, and just be able to basically get rid of DeRozan. And even though I'm not the biggest DeRozan truther, he's not a great three-point shooter, but he is one of the best mid-range shooters in the NBA. You and I have talked about this at length. I do think that DeMar and Giannis could win 50 games on their own.
Yeah, I was going to say, let's get into this a little bit. I think that they're fit actually when you take a step back and you think just basketball-wise. Excuse me. And you think like X's and O's, they fit really well together, honestly. I mean, where DeMar likes the ball.
DeRozan has a similar skill set to Chris Middleton, just without the cerebral connection that him and Giannis had. Yeah,
and I don't think he has the playmaking, but I do think you lose a little bit of playmaking for a little bit better defense, where Middleton's legs were obviously falling off with all the surgeries. So it's not like he wasn't competing, because he was a pretty good defender when his legs weren't, half of
during the championship year when PJ Tucker wasn't defending Kevin Durant, it was Chris Middleton.
Yeah, I mean, they also put Drew Holiday on him too.
Occasionally, yeah, but it was Kyrie more.
Yeah, but they wanted to go a little bit more size, which makes sense because Kevin Durant is a unicorn. But yeah, I think that the DeMar DeRozan thing, that really fits well with Giannis and what the Bucks are trying to do. DeMar's obviously a guy that's hungry. He's been in the playoffs a ton of times, so he'd be looking to get over the top and get deeper into the playoffs as well.
The other part of this that makes sense to me is that if you add DeRozan with Giannis, like I said, I believe that duo can win 50 games. But when Damian Lillard comes back, DeMar DeRozan still fits.
Yes.
So that's why I'm potentially interested in it. Now, again, in this scenario, I'm starting Giannis at point guard and going Giannis, Gary Trent Jr., DeMar DeRozan, Bobby Portis, and Jericho Sims as your starters. Then you have Kevin Porter Jr., AJ Green, Larry Nance Jr., Santi Aldama, and Steven Adams as your second unit.
I love Steven Adams. I wish he was on the Bucks too. Great rebounder.
Yeah.
Great offensive rebounder as well.
Yeah. And then you can keep Ryan Rollins, Pat, Ajax. I like the idea of keeping Pete Nance on a two-way deal. Yeah, that's my second scenario.
Yeah, so I obviously misunderstood what you were talking about because I did 3 trades and I ranked the 3 trades because I thought that's what we were doing, not 3 whole different roster scenarios. That's my bad.
Dude, I have one more roster scenario after that too yet. So
yeah, go. Why don't you just rip it right away?
all right. So my third roster scenario is called "Let's Get Nuts," and this involves the Bucks potentially losing Gary Trent Jr. And that scenario is just let's be long and athletic on defense. And part 1 of this scenario is to sign Ben Simmons for the league minimum. He's still good on defense, and if he played about 20 minutes a game, he'd give you about 7 points, 8 rebounds, and 7 assists.
Okay.
Part 2 of that is to sign Amir Coffey. He's 6'7". He plays shooting guard and small forward for the Clippers. He shot 40.9% on threes last year, 47.1% overall, and 89.1% at the free throw line. Part 3 of this is to trade Bobby Portis to the Orlando Magic for Jonathan Isaac.
Ooh.
Straight up. Now, the Magic, they desperately need shooting.
Yeah.
They are the first team since 2016-2017 Oklahoma City Thunder to be bottom 3 in three-point percentage and make the playoffs.
Interesting.
So the Bucks would lose some three-point shooting. Jonathan Isaac's like a 25% three-point shooter last year. But, again, this is my let's get nuts scenario. After that, you draft a big or a long forward, and you start Kevin Porter Jr., Amir Coffey, Kyle Kuzma, Giannis, and Jericho Sims. Then you have Ben Simmons, AJ Green, Ajax, Jonathan Isaac, and Pete Nance. And then you can still obviously keep Ryan Rollins. You can keep Tyler Smith, have those guys in there as well. But like I said, this scenario is if the Bucks lose Gary Trent Jr., let's just be long and athletic and defensively good.
Dude, I was so close to signing Amir Coffey. I think that he's a really good fit. Guy that's been kind of buried on the Clippers roster because they're super deep over there as well. They just keep
Norman
signing.
Powell had a career resurgence this year.
It's very true. He's super long, shoots the 3 well. I was like, I can see him fitting, but I liked my trade for Okongwu a little bit better.
Yeah, and I'm totally on board with that.
Mm-hmm.
So my last scenario is basically Giannis for MVP, and it's basically keeping the roster, keep Gary Trent Jr., keep Brook Lopez, keep Bobby Portis, add a high three-point percentage shooting point guard, and then drafting a sniper. And for a high three-point percentage point guard, as much as he annoys me, he's been a potential, ask for people on social media in the past. Tyus Jones would fit. It's super annoying, but Tyus Jones would fit with the Bucks.
I don't know if I'm over that. I'm not gonna lie to you. I don't know if I'm over that.
I mean, if we had Grayson Allen on our team and we were okay with it, we can have Tyus Jones.
Fair.
And to be fair, Justice Winslow was in our developmental team.
He is the one that touched it. He's probably the one I should be most mad at.
So, I mean, we can move past it. It's been 10 years.
Still feels like yesterday.
I know, and Tyus Jones still annoys me, but he does fit. And again, if we're just planning on telling Giannis to try to win the MVP this year, just add a bunch of three-point shooters around Giannis, and let's just try to get Giannis to average a triple-double this year.
Yep, just create as much space as humanly possible and let Giannis run, pass, dunk, dictate the entire game. I don't hate that, actually.
Let's see if we can get Giannis to average 35, 14, and 10.
Dude, he's going to average like 33 next year for points. He's probably going to average like 8.5 assists a game. And he's going to play elite defense.
Yeah.
He's good.
So that was my last scenario now. A couple other things is I have 2 guys that I would be very interested in bringing in on two-way deals if their restricted free agency rights are renounced by their current teams. Mm-hmm. And that would be EJ Liddell, who's currently on the Bulls. He has a restricted free agency deal. If the Bulls renounce their rights, I'd be interested in bringing EJ Liddell in on a two-way deal. And Christian Koloko, who's currently with the Lakers. Again, those 2 guys, if they are released from their restricted free agency, I'd be interested in bringing those 2 guys in on two-way deals.
Yeah, I didn't get into the two-way stuff. I probably should.
Those are the only 2 guys, just because I noticed them as I was looking through everything else as far as free agents are concerned. Mm-hmm. Just those are the 2 guys that just popped out as guys that I would be interested in potentially developing.
Yeah, it makes sense to me.
Alrighty, so thank you for sticking with us, through all of today's show. I think we had some good stuff out there today, and then for the last 4 weeks, as we've kind of put together stuff with the Bucks in their offseason and what we think they can do and what we'd like to see them do as far as strategy and, putting together roster construction go, and where they sit in the draft and financial situations. They're not as strapped as people would have you believe that they are, or they're not in a situation where they have no money, no picks. The Chris Middleton trade over the past season gave them much more flexibility that they wouldn't have had they kept Chris. So there's some opportunity here. It'd be interesting to see what they do. John Horst is gonna cook something up. He's gonna change the roster. We've seen some crazy stuff happen in the last 5 years with John Horst in the roster, to go from Eric Bledsoe to Drew Holiday to winning a championship to now having Damian Lillard on our team, which still doesn't seem real.
No, I love Dame. Just want him to remain healthy the rest of his career with the Bucks.
Absolutely. So it'll be very interesting to see what John Horst does with the roster, but we threw some ideas out there. Again, we didn't go through and do it on the financial things and making sure it all works, but these are just some potential ideas and some potential guys that we think would fit with the roster. So stick with us. Next week we're going to be back. We have more Brewer games to discuss next week, and then we're going to be getting into the dog days of summer, and we're going to be starting to plan Packers and Badgers football stuff. So stick with us. Brewers are hot. It's fun. Bucks off season is going to start in about 3 weeks, and then we're going to be getting ready for football season. So again,
and the weather is getting hot.
What's that?
And the weather is getting hot, so it's starting to get really nice outside.
Yeah, Brewers are getting hot, and the weather is getting hot. So we will see everybody again next Wednesday. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next week.
Going to the gym can be discouraging, especially if you're putting in the work but barely seeing changes. But with Tonal, you can actually see your progress with every workout. Tonal provides the convenience of a full gym and the expertise of a personal trainer anytime at home with one sleek system. Designed to reduce your mental load, Tonal is the ultimate strength training system, helping you focus less on workout planning and more on getting results. No more second-guessing your technique. Tonal gives you real-time coaching cues to dial in your form and help you lift safely and effectively. After a quick assessment, Tonal sets the optimal weight for every move and adjusts in 1 pound increments as you get stronger, so you're always challenged. Tonal lets you choose from a variety of expert-led workouts, from strength to arrow hit to yoga and mobility, to keep you coming back for more. For a limited time, go to Tonal.com to get $500 off your Tonal purchase, plus a free 4-year warranty. That's Tonal.com for $500 off, plus a free 4-year warranty. Tonal.com.